But then, of course, what I also realize, at least in a societal context, is that we do have different ways of knowing reality, right? We do have different ways of understanding and perceiving the future. Like, for example, the question of what would artificial intelligence look like if it is your forces of change mean to a general, right? What would synthetic biology mean to a priest or a bishop, right? Or a venture capitalist, or a military, or an intellectual. So while futurists build narratives of the future, but then when this reach, for example, the desk of a decision maker who has, let's just say, a predominant or propensity of a warrior mindset, for example, how would a person with a warrior mindset interpret your transformational scenario? So the Dreams and Disruptions was invented to incorporate leaders and movements, right? So according to Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar, who is an Indian social philosopher, at least at the societal or collective psychologies, that there are 4 ways of knowing human society. So the military has a unique, novel way of looking at society. Some values are important to them, like, for example, honesty, integrity, protection. A laborer has a different way of knowing reality, and they influence, or perhaps they are not necessarily, I would say, influence the environment, but the way they participate and contribute in shaping human society is by using their bodies, right? Like carpenters, those kinds of stuff, or professions. And then you also have the intellectual, which influences the environment through ideas. And you have the capitalist that influences the environment by acquiring assets and paying, for example, the laborer, the intellectual, and the military, right? So they have different ways of knowing reality. So what I would say is that by building scenarios, incorporating randomness into the process, and then acknowledging the role, the function, and implication, or I would say impact, of leaders and movements and how scenarios are constructed and acted upon, it implies that scenarios will continually evolve, right? But then, of course, it doesn't end there. What I also realized after, in fact, not after the pandemic, because I've been into crisis and risk management in the last 7 years of my career, is that risk, whether they are known or unknown, and crisis after the fact, or now, as many are saying, and I think this is pretty quite evident and will have significant implications in the way we do foresight, are existential risk and threats, right? So, how would your scenarios of the future evolve when it faces a particular existential risk and threats? Would your transformation scenario in 2023 remain the same, or will it evolve when it is stress tested by an existential risk? Let's just say, for example, zombie apocalypse, right? Yeah, or perhaps ocean system collapse. So the Dreams and Disruptions incorporates these 3 elements in scenario building: randomness, leadership and movements, and disruptions.